Good morning, YouTube friends and family. Welcome to Winter Storm Landon. My goodness, I hope you all are staying safe. If you are in the path of the storm, looks like it's affected a lot of people in a lot of states. So here in Ohio, unfortunately, we had straight up solid sleet freezing rain for 15 hours straight. Then it changed over to snow. We only have like 6 inches, which really isn't that much. We're supposed to get like another inch today. The problem is definitely the cold temperatures and the ice. So I thought, what can I do today for a video? Because obviously I'm not ahead. So it's about 6 o'clock, or I would show you what it looked like outside. Of course, it's still dark. So I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to make a healthy meal with the Pantry challenge. So I'm going to change up the recipe just a little bit. But this is my son's and his cute little printing. Taco chicken chili. How good does that sound? So this is a crock pot recipe. I'm sure that you could do it on the stove. I don't know the directions for an Instant Pot. Guys, I'm still... So one of you sent me a group to look at, so thank you for that, as far as good recipes on YouTube. So I did subscribe. All right, so to start out with here, I have 1 onion chopped, and I'm gonna pop that in the bottom of the crock pot. Now, again, I don't have everything this recipe calls for, so I'm just going to wing it. I like to wing it. All right, to that, it calls for a can of black beans, but I am going to use my ranch black beans, which are spicy and have that sort of chili taco seasoning in them anyway. Y'all know I can't have everything out. All right, so this may be a little bit more beans than a standard can, but again, hey, it's fine. Now, I thought about using my home canned tomatoes for the tomato ingredients, but I decided, hey, I need to get some of these cans down because I don't want things to expire on the shelf. I want to keep rotating, etc. And this is a pantry challenge. So the next thing we're going to add is a can of black beans. Guys, hold on a minute. Sometimes my can opener, it cuts around the edge of the can, not on the top. And I already put it away. Hang on a minute, I'll reopen this. All right, I'm going to add a can of dark red kidney beans. You could use light or dark, either. It calls for a can of tomato sauce, but only 8 ounces. Well, on my shelf, I have... Frankie, what are you doing? I'm sorry, guys. I have 15 ounces, so I'm adding a little bit more tomato sauce than what it calls for, but I don't want a partial can of tomato sauce. Next, it calls for a 10-ounce package of frozen corn. So I'm just going to add some. Where's the rubber band? Okay, here we go. Then it calls for 2 10-ounce cans of diced tomatoes with chilies. Well, guys, I don't have 2 cans. I have 1 can of Rotel. So I'm going to add that because we've added more tomato sauce, so I'm not terribly worried. Let's see how the, well, you can kind of see. Ooh, this looks delish. Smells good too. Now, I need to add, the recipe calls for, wait a minute, 4 ounces of chopped green chili. But what I am going to add is my son's, please Lord, don't let this blow me up. These are not banana peppers, they are hot yellows. Oh my goodness, yeah. He was like, Mom, those will blow you up. Sounds perfect to me. But you could add green chilies. I'm not going to add the equivalent of 8 ounces of this. It's not that hot. So I am going to dice them up pretty finely. He left the seeds in, which makes it hotter, but hey, I love hot, so I don't think this will be too much. We're about to find out, aren't we? But I was really proud of him. My son home canned these and brought his mama some. All right, so those are pretty fine, and they will probably cook down pretty well. So I'm gonna guess I'm putting about 2 tablespoons because I can tell you these are hot. I feel it in my throat already. Okay, the last thing I'm gonna add before I add the chicken is my home-made taco seasoning. So this is what the recipe calls for. 1.5 tablespoons of cumin, 1.5 tablespoons chili powder, 4 teaspoons of garlic powder, a teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. So I'm going to add, that's spicy too, like, I don't know, 2 tablespoons of this, and what I will do is once it's cooked enough that I can actually safely taste it, because we're going to be putting raw chicken in it, then I can season it more to taste. I don't think I put any salt in my taco mix, so it may need salt, it may not. So here's what we have, guys. There you go. Doesn't that look delicious? I think it does. On top of this, you want to put your chicken. It says just lay it on top. And then you're going to take it out and shred it once it's fully cooked. And the cooking instructions are 6 hours on low. I'm sorry, 6 hours on high, 10 hours on low. I'm going to at least start it on low and go from there. So I have chicken hands, so let me wash my hands here. And then let's see what else we have for today's video. Well, I decided to go with our healthy chicken chili. I wanted to make some cinnamon rolls. Actually, I want to take some to the neighbors as well. So drop me a comment below. Are you all watching your pantry stores dwindle a little bit? I know I am. I've had to refill like sugar and bread flour and different items like that. And while I know that's the purpose of the pantry challenge, I have to tell you, it's been a little bit like, yeah, I'm running low on certain things. And it's forced me to be a little more creative. I have not made these cinnamon rolls in years. This recipe actually came from a friend from many, many years ago who made some amazing food. So I will set this aside to go back in my pantry. So let me check the microwave here. Sounds like my neighbors are trying to plow out. I couldn't get out if I wanted to because my garage door is frozen shut. All right, guys, so let's get started making some homemade cinnamon rolls if I can find my recipe. So I'm actually making a half batch. Here are the ingredients. 1 package of yeast, 1/2 cup warm water, 1/2 cup warm milk, 1/4 stick of margarine melted. It calls for an egg for the entire recipe, so a 1/2 egg. 3/8 cup sugar, 3 cups flour, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we will add our cinnamon, sugar, and butter after it has risen the first time. So the first thing we're going to do, I've heated my 1/2 cup each of milk and water. I'm gonna pop that into my mixer bowl and grab my yeast. Uh-oh. Now I wrote this down, but yes. So, guys, it's early. That's my excuse. So a packet of yeast, which is what it calls for, is actually 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. So I am using SAF yeast. So I'm gonna add that to the mixer bowl and let it kind of dissolve. And 1/4. Let me give that a little stir with my spatula because we're not ready to start the mixer yet. I think my neighbors already gave up on the snow blowing. I don't mean to laugh at them. I actually am on the list to be plowed out because the snow plows only come by like once, and I'm completely plowed in. I went out to get my, if I didn't say this, did I say this? I don't know. I went out to get my recycling bins. They're frozen to the ground. I'm like, yeah, I'll leave them. Okay, so we're gonna let that dissolve a little bit. Let me pause you, get on to the next step. All right, I've given that yeast a little time to dissolve in our mixer. So the next thing we're going to do is add our sugar. Again, 3/8 of a cup. I just did a scant 1/2 cup and called it good. It says to add the salt and the beaten egg. I'm gonna eyeball the egg, but I am going to save half of it, or a portion of it, to brush the top of the rolls with. Now, I really don't want to add my salt into this yeast mixture until I've done some flour, even though it says so. So I'm gonna start that whirling around. We'll come back to the salt. So, next step, add your butter, which again, 1/4 stick, 2 tablespoons. And then it says add just half of the flour. So half of the flour for this recipe is going to be, cup and a half. And the reason I don't want to add the salt yet is I don't want to take a risk of deactivating the yeast. So there's 1/2. And guys, I'm using bread flour. The recipe just calls for flour, but honestly, this recipe is so old, I don't even know if selling bread flour was common back then. This is probably from the early 70s. Okay, now I can add my salt, which is 3/4 teaspoon. So I do have my dough hook on. I am keeping it at a level 2. Remember, on a KitchenAid, when you use your dough hook, you're not supposed to turn the speed up above a level 2. So let me scrape down the bowl. So we've added our yeast, our water, our milk, our melted butter, our egg, our sugar, our salt. So now we just have 1.5 cups of flour left. So what we're going to do is bring that together in a bowl. I'm only going to mix it long enough for it to come together. I'll put a little oil in my mixer bowl. Then, because it's always so cold in my house, I am going to cover it with a damp tea towel, put it in my oven with the light on, and let it rise for 2 hours. I'll bring you back then. Okay guys, I thought I would bring you over close because I ended up adding about ½ cup more flour. Again, can be very humidity dependent. Don't know if you noticed when I was putting in my half egg, I put in a little more than a half. So what you're looking for here is a dough that is sticking to the hook and the sides of the bowl are relatively clean, and your dough isn't so sticky that you can't touch it. So this dough is ready. I will be putting a little oil in this bowl and then letting it rise for the next couple hours, and I will bring you back at that point. All right guys, time for the big reveal. It's been 2 hours, and there you have a very happy bowl of dough. Now my hands are clean and the counter is clean, so what I'm gonna do here is punch this down, and you can see it gets much smaller when you do that. And because this is a sticky dough, I am going to oil my countertop. Evidently put some dough on there too. Oh my word. I've just found that it works better when I do that. So let's turn out our dough onto this oiled surface. And what we are going to attempt to do, grab my recipe, is roll this into an oblong roll. So it says 14 by 18 in the original recipe. So let's just, I don't even think we're gonna need a roller. It's a very well-behaved dough. It is quite sticky, but you know what? I think it's gonna be fine. Crock-pot's in the way. The real test will be, will it come up off the counter, because it is quite sticky. All right, now what you wanna do is melt about ½ a stick of butter. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll be back in just a moment. Now that our butter is melted, I am going to just brush it really, really well with all this delicious butter. So I will share with you all, while I was waiting on the dough to do its first rise, I was determined I was going to figure out the garage door issue. So after much shoveling and a lot of ice melt, I was able to get the door open, so I am no longer, hopefully, stuck. So there is such a thick, thick, thick coat of ice. I don't know if we'll thaw out until spring. We're supposed to get some below zero weather. So I'm just thankful. You know, it's kind of an odd feeling when you think, I can't get out of my house. I don't know if I can get out of my house, but okay. So that is generously dabbed with butter. Let me wash the butter off my hands a little bit here. So while I was waiting, I went ahead and I mixed up the 1 cup of sugar, and it called for 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I confess I used more like 3. I mean, they are cinnamon rolls after all, right? And we're just gonna sprinkle that evenly over the whole length of dough. We're gonna roll this up and cut it into individual rolls. So, oops, you try not to do that. That's what the spoon is for. So I just want to make sure I get some on the whole thing first, and then I'll go back and fill in the blank spots. So drop me a comment below. What are you all doing to stay busy when you're stuck at home. If, like, we've had major highway closed, we've had a little bit of everything here. And Ohio should be more used to it than that, but when you get ice and it's just such cold temperatures that ice melt does not work well. Yeah, sometimes you have challenges. So if you see me looking at my watch, sometimes my text messages come through my Fitbit. So, hello, Miss Gay over at Apron Strings. She's texting me. I saw a funny meme about winter in Texas that I had to send her. Okay, now what we want to do, just making sure this is good and loose, is roll this up into one big roll. And guys, it is behaving. You may have to kind of pick up the dough and turn it. Like I said, it has been so long since I've made these. I might have kind of forgotten how. So I'm just going to bring that other end up, stretch it over the top, trying to kind of manipulate this as little as I can and keep it on the oiled parts. So what is next? Well, we are going to cut these. I'm going to compress it just a little bit, try to make sure it's nice and even. Stick my dough together a little better. All right, so we are going to cut this into about 1-inch slices. Now I'm trying my bench cutter. And guys, I know the bottom of the pan is going to be greasy, but that's okay. So what you will have is a cinnamon roll. Oh, you can't see that. Okay. Let's do another one. And then I'll hold up the whole bowl, or the whole pan. So that's the look we're going for. So I'm going to keep cutting these rolls, and then they're going back into the oven with the light on to proof for 1 more hour. Well, our rolls have been rising. The second rise for an hour. You can see they've expanded. So into a 350 oven they go. And the original recipe calls for it to go on a greased cookie sheet. That's not the way I've always made them. And if I recall, it can take like 15-20 minutes for them to be done fully in the center. So I will bring you back to show you the final completed cinnamon rolls. Stay tuned. Well, my timer just went off for 10 minutes, and guys, they're not even halfway cooked. So in the meantime, I have taken, I don't know, maybe a cup of powdered sugar. I put some of my organic vanilla extract powder in there. I'm going to add maybe a teaspoon of real vanilla, because we want this will be the glaze for the rolls. I want this to be super flavorful. And then I do want it very thin, so it's not going to be an icing, it is going to be a glaze. So what I generally do, you can't see what I'm doing, and you can use water or milk. I just have milk, so that's what I'm using. Just add a little bit at a time. Stir, add a little more, stir till you get to the consistency that you'd like. So here's the takeaway on the rolls. As I remembered, they take a lot longer if you nestle them in a baking dish than they perhaps will if you don't. And it's probably largely dependent on how long of a roll, how many rolls you have, like how thick the dough is. So yeah, I want to glaze like this. So that is just perfect. So we'll let that sit. I will bring you back when our rolls are finished. While the rolls are finishing baking, I thought I would show you where Hanky Franky Hanky Panky Frankie's favorite places to lay. You can see there is a register vent there. So, oops, I woke up the baby. And just to give you a little vision of what I'm dealing with, I've got a huge bank of snow right here, but you can see snow blowing off the neighbor's roof. It's cold, but it is beautiful. So first, let me show you the delicious chicken chili taco soup. Chicken taco chili. It hasn't been cooking long enough for me to eat, so I just wanted to share that with you. So I won't be tasting it on screen, but I've had it many times and it smells amazing. Amazing. So here are our beautiful cinnamon rolls. So I squeezed them tighter at one end than the other, so these actually expanded to meet the whole pan, but aren't they gorgeous? So they've just come out of the oven. I will tell you, it took 27 minutes. Now my oven is a little bit on the slow side, so what I would suggest is just check them frequently, which is what I did. And when they look and feel done, so they have firm crust, check on the inside, make sure it's not just pure dough. They're ready to come out. So I'm just gonna drizzle these with some glaze. Oh, yes. So hopefully the healthy soup will counteract the calories in these rolls, but this is a great recipe for feeding a crowd. You can double it and have 2 pans of delicious hot cinnamon rolls ready. Not quickly, but absolutely delicious. People will ask you for the recipe. Again, came from a family friend many, many years ago. So there you have it. I'll bring you back for the taste test in just a moment. How beautiful are these cinnamon rolls? Very good texture, done all the way through. So let's give them a taste test here. Forgot my fork. Yes, I've been smelling these for hours. Guys, I've been dying to try it. Okay, I can really smell that vanilla powder too. I will put those up against a Cinnabon any day. Light, yeasty, just enough cinnamon. I made too much glaze, guys, so you may want to cut your glaze back. I didn't use it all. Just enough sweetness to really enhance that vanilla and that cinnamon. Oh, you got to give it a try. So wherever you are, I hope you're staying safe. If you haven't already, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you know someone who's trying to do a pantry challenge, share my video, because this was a challenge for me to come up with this recipe combo out of my pantry since I'm snowed in. So thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate it. And as always, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and I hopefully will see you all next week. Take care.